Okay, so hi again, everybody, and thank you for your time. Just to let you know that we have, whilst we have an hour and a half scheduled for this session, prior to this, we discussed it, and it's likely that we will finish well before time. So just be appraised of that. A key element or a key criteria of the BPESA's value proposition for our members is enabling access to funded skills projects such as these to the membership community, and more specifically in this instance to the KZN GBS community. Through the generous funding of the UNDP and the GIZ, which are both development agencies respectively, United Nations Development Program, the GIZ, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that, but it's a German development agency, and we're very, very grateful for their funding. We're also very grateful to the team that is running this project in terms of how they've run it in Eastern Cape, where it kicked off, and which in a way served as a pilot project. So we're very eager and also excited about bringing this to the KZN community. My colleagues today, Andy Searle, Renee Groom, Neville Cousins, Teswell Arnold, Judy Robinson, and Vardy O'Neill will take you through the program. And what we'd like to have is each section that, for example, Andy goes through, Renee goes through, and Judy and Vardy. At the end of that session or during that session, if you could put your questions in the chat group, it'll make for a lot more efficient sessions so that we don't have that many questions after that. Having said that, we will go to a formal Q&A after the entire session, but for the purposes of efficiency and of course saving time, please put your questions in the chat group, and our team, Judy, Renee, Vardy, Neville, and we will attempt to answer that. I also want to thank Sam Hussein for her support with this, and I think we're good to go. So over to you, Andy, for the introduction and overview. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Jürgen. Can I just check that you can hear me?
Yes, I can, loud and clear.
Great, thank you. Thanks for the introduction, and good morning to everybody on behalf of the presenters. It's really exciting to have the opportunity to share the GIZ-funded KZN Skills Initiative with you. The agenda, as you can see, is really to take you through an overview of the program and its objectives as defined by the GIZ and in partnership with the UNDP. I'll then be handing over to Judy and Vardy, who will talk you through aspects of the Future Skills platform, which is a key component of this program. And Judy will continue to share a little bit more about the content, and in particular, content for work readiness training and content for workplace upskilling. Then Sam is going to discuss the project governance component, so how the project will be structured, how communication takes place, how management is conducted, and quality is assured. And then we'll hand over to Renee, who's the program lead for this initiative. And Renee, of course, has very successfully implemented a similar program in the Eastern Cape, which was the pilot program with the UNDP and BPESA. And on the basis and the strength of that program, they persuaded the GIZ to extend their involvement and work with UNDP to partner with BPESA and KZN. So Renee will take you through the whole implementation detail of the program. I will simply add to what she says with a timeline view of the planning, and then Renee will talk about the actions required for those of you who want to participate, after which I know that Jürgen will take any outstanding questions we can try and answer and then wrap up. Thanks, Sam. Or Teswell, sorry. Thank you. All right, let's go straight on to the opportunity and the target objectives and outcomes. All right, next slide, please. So this program is in partnership with the UNDP and the GIZ. They will be the funding partners. So I just want to quickly minimize my view there. They will be the funding partners, and BPESA is the implementing partner. The objectives of the program, firstly, it's about developing talent in South Africa in the GBS sector, and strengthening the supply of skilled talent broadly for the digital economy. It's also, like previous BPESA managed programs, is demand-led. So those participating are participating because you're experiencing good or high growth and you have jobs to offer. And also for those participating in the upskilling, there's this constant need to upskill your workforce to remain competitive and relevant, and to build the digital skills that your clients and the environment is requiring of us all of the time. So the key areas that we're going to be focusing on in the program are around creating meaningful employment. It's a condition of the funding from the GIZ. It is for young unemployed people, with a particular focus on women. And there is a desired target that's been set for women, which we'll get to in a moment. It's also about driving digitally focused skilling. And in our world, we know that almost every role is digitally enabled, and some roles are quite specific and ICT specific, but it covers all of those. And for the work readiness components, it's about building that digital work readiness for young people coming into your business in the digital economy. It needs to be supported with coaching and mentorship within your organizations, as you do with your normal pipeline. It needs to demonstrate through the way that young people are selected to participate in the program that there's a sensitivity around gender and the tools and the process and the methodologies that we use. And particularly it's around enabling young people to access working opportunities. Thank you. Right, so to comply with and align the requirements of BPESA and the sector master plan and the funders, these were the agreed parameters and guiding principles. So let's start with the parameters. It's digital and ICT skilling focused, but as mentioned, digital is broad-based in the sense that it includes digital literacy, user digital skills, as well as sector-specific digital skills. So it's up to you to determine where those needs are. And of course, ICT skilling if appropriate, and that's for ICT professionals in your organization who could benefit from it, maybe young entrants or established people doing the upskilling component of the course. Target beneficiaries must be youth in KZN. It's got to be demand-led, and that demand could come from public or private sector companies. And there are two key components to it. The one is to take 230 young people through work readiness training and then to transition them into a job. And in addition to that, the second focus is to upskill 487 people who are already employed and can benefit from a 12-month upskilling program using the platform. The project's already kicked off, but today is our first opportunity to engage with KZN and the potential participants. And the end date of the project by which the young people need to have transitioned into a job or be registered and using the platform for their workplace upskilling is the 31st of December, although the access with the platform will continue. So I'm just going to close the store. Apologies for the background noise. The guiding principles. Renee has done a lot of work on modeling the program we implemented in the UNDP. We've had really good feedback from role players and from the BPESA team and what we can do better, what we can strengthen, and what was already working. And so it's going to be building on that initiative. And that's the very reason that the UNDP and the GIZ agreed to support it. It needs to be beneficial to yourselves, first and foremost, and your pipeline of target employees, to BPESA, and in terms of supporting the implementation of the strategy and the master plan, and to the funders. It needs to demonstrate that the model can be replicated as it has been already or will be when it's implemented here, because it's been piloted in the Eastern Cape. But UNDP are also looking closely at KZN to determine whether or not they can support it in Gauteng and the Western Cape. So that your involvement in it is going to really help support BPESA scale this out across the country. It needs to be transformative in creating those opportunities. It needs to be different in helping us solve for some of today's problems and blockages. And we've already talked about the target audience being unemployed youth, and with a focus of 50% or more being women, and trying to maximize people with disabilities. Right, so Renee will talk through the different components of these two programs, so to speak. The target outcome for the 230 people going through work readiness training and into a job is a job in the global business services sector in any particular role. So that's entirely driven by your demand. And the objective here as well is to demonstrate scaling and partnering with other government partners who are behind UNDP and GIZ, which we are doing. And also, where possible, we've tried to catalyze other match funding and co-funding with government and with others. And in this case, the reason to engage with KZN is also because KZN and particularly eThekwini have been so forthcoming in their investments in skills development in the GBS sector over the years. And this is to demonstrate that partnership with them and putting more funding into the ecosystem. The objectives for the 487 young people is that they are supported with access to suitable digital learning content for them, building those digital skills, digital leadership skills, so they can upskill themselves during the period that they have access to the material, based on what you want them to build in terms of skills, based on what their interests and preferences are. But you will determine what that curriculum looks like, and our team will help curate that with you. And it's also about scaling the BPESA Future Skills platform, which has enjoyed over 7,500 people that it's supported in the past year. And you'll recall from the sector master plan that it was a key enabler, like the SA Youth.mobi platform is, to accelerate and scale the growth of the supply side so that the sector can realistically achieve its master plan goals. And so this project, like other projects that BPESA runs, is really just ensuring that people are made aware of the opportunities of the platform and can access it to their benefit. And it is really just replicating and building out those target outcomes across the sectors, and supporting collaborative relationships when it comes to placements, any other forms of support with a growing set of role players in the ecosystem. And yeah, I think just lastly, in demonstrating and building stronger linkages between the SA Youth platform, which is the job matching platform, and the Future Skills platform, which is a skilling platform. Thank you. All right, I'm not going to dwell on these two components. I'm going to leave that to Renee, who'll talk through that under the implementation section. We've already covered the program's two focus areas, so we can move on there, please. This is how it will be sequenced. So the 1A and B talk to the training of the people going through work readiness and into placement. So it will begin after contracting with you or the employers sourcing these young people against the beneficiary profile. Then the delivery of 6 weeks of training for non-complex roles. Judy will talk more about the construct and the flexibility within that training program. And the use of the Future Skills platform starting in that phase. It then moves either as part of the training program or into your continued workplace operations and learning, but moves into your working environment where people can conclude their initial training or can continue with upskilling. And then they move into contracts. And those two blocks, work integrated learning placement or contracts, will be driven by your models. But ultimately, what the project wants to see is that young people are given the opportunity for a 12-month working opportunity with you, subject to your own HR policies and performance policies. So the sustained employment is really going to come from yourselves. If they perform well, they're a good fit with your organization. Hopefully you would keep them beyond year one as permanent members of your workforce. So well, that's for the first group. And then for the second group, it's about onboarding them to build those future skills, also starting on as soon as you're ready, and allowing them to run these self-directed programs, but under your guidance in terms of curriculum and structure for a 12-month period. Thank you. All right, I'm going to stop there and just check first if there are any questions in the chat around the project overview at a high level. And if not, then I'm going to hand over to Judy to be talking about the Future Skills platform. Can I just check, Renee, if there are any questions or comments?
No questions thus far, Andy.
All right, Judy, if I can hand over to you, please.
Sure. Hi, everyone. So there's two key elements that I would like to cover in terms of the platform. It's just the structure of the platform, and then also of the program that you are going to be engaging with. So it's a cloud-based experience platform. It's called an LXP. And the reason for that is that it's a learning experience platform, not a learning management system. And it is one that is integratable with any platform that you may currently have. So for those of you who have really well-established infrastructure in the terms of learning management systems, this is not something that is a replacement of. It's something that can be an integration with or enhancement of. This platform really is focused on accelerating the digital and GBS behavioral learning and skills necessary for young people who have been impact sourced to gain a quicker speed to competence in your environment. This is a very well-known global IDCAST platform, which also partners with the likes of the BPESA equivalent in India called NASCOM, who many of us probably have worked extensively with around best practice and standards for particular sector endorsed certifications and skills development. And you can switch to the next slide. We have really focused on building the ecosystem for you in terms of personalized learning, learning engagement, learning design, delivery, content and instructor marketplace, your LMS integration, your records and analytics adoption and infrastructure. I'm not going to go into too much detail. We can go into detail when we have one-on-ones, but essentially what we're doing is providing a really supportive, managed online and blended learning system for you, with you. The programs are co-created on the platform with yourselves and your teams based on what your requirements are. We do have generic job readiness programs that we have developed, so it's easy as take it off the shelf and use it. But we also have the instructional design capability to develop bespoke programs for you for either job readiness, work readiness, and or digital skills. The content marketplace really is around, at some point, we will be providing a marketplace for your own content or for the content of your training providers. The platform has the ability to ring fence and IP protect your own learning journey, your own learning content, either for in-house use and or for marketing purposes, should you wish to go to market with your content utilizing the content marketplace on FSP. It has a very strong built-in recording, reporting, and analytics functionality. So a lot of that admin burden on you to report and record on learning journey completion, learning journey results, and evidence of learning is taken on within the platform's capability, as well as a data analytics capability to feed you back information on trends, learner performance, learner engagement, and then as well as to support you with adoption strategies for your learners. So as I said, in terms of the infrastructure, also very scalable, very agile, and very integratable with what you currently have. And if you do, and many of you will have your own systems internally, we will have a look at the art of the possible for each of you when we engage. Thanks, Teswa. So really, the strength of the platform is really its richness of its content and the ability of its experienced team to curate that content for you and with you, and particularly co-created with you. So we have partnered with the likes of SA Youth and their content, their job readiness content that has been so well proven through the Arambi system over the years. We have the EdCost NASCOM content, where we have 10 by 10 channels of all of your professional skills needed in the new world of work, as well as the emerging tech needed. And then we have daily content curation that happens with a large amount of what we call associative content being pulled in from top sources around the globe into the platform. And then we have the ability for the AI component to drive and push content towards the users and the learners on the platform based on their interests, as well as the ability to ring-fence mandatory content for learning for particular programs such as this, for example. We have subject matter experts on the platform to drive content and keep it updated. And we always invite your learning team to be, or subject matter experts to be part of that learning process with us. It's a very supportive environment whereby we equip your teams with the skills and the tools to curate their own content, load their own content with us as a support team, and or provide content for you and with you as mentioned. The content to date has been very much focused on the GBS sector and ICT sectors for entry-level skills, as well as organizations that are going through digital transformation and would just like the entire staff complement from maybe agent to exec level to have a higher level of understanding or competence in the space of digital. So we have programs from digital literacy right through to digital transformation and digital leadership that have been made available on the platform. Very much driven by you as client and partner, and as well as global trends in terms of what's required in our sector and beyond. Thank you, Tess. So we really do have a strong focus on what is required for new entrant job readiness or work readiness in the GBS sector or related sectors. And there are very common trends and requirements both in our sector and others for somebody to become employable quicker or to last longer in new employment and to be supported with the skills they need. And we've developed that content, as we said, across the pyramid. And we are doing that with funding options, public-private partnerships, as well as we have direct clients on the platform that are wanting to build their own academies, for example, their own in-house leadership academy, for example. And the ability on the platform leads to that. Just important here, if you have a look at DHS and NSF, etc., we have a very strong engagement and lobbying project with the likes of the accredited and recognized training providers, both locally and internationally, to build our capability to micro-certify as well as qualify on competency-based and or unit standard-based training. So currently we are building our digital skills framework aligned to DSF1, our local DSF1, but also in line of sight with global competency frameworks on digital skills. And we are also in collaboration with our professional bodies to enable young people who've done learning on our platform to apply for evidence-based RPL on the CCMG platform and the likes. We've also built strong content partnerships with the likes of AWS. We're looking at STAP, we're looking at the PMI, Project Management Institute. We've built really strong partnerships with digital learning engagement partners and with accredited e-portfolio partners. Thanks, you can move on quickly. So just some idea of the training providers, partners and employers to date. We launched our pivot, our initial pilot program with Shadow Careers, which has gone on to employ over 320 and more than that since I last checked, learners through their program, which we digitized for them and partnered with them on. And we're using extensively SA Youth as well as our own generated content, as well as the really superior EdCost future skills and emerging skills content. I think just to, if I could just speak a little bit around the job readiness program or the work readiness program you'll be engaging with. We've set some best practice guidelines that we will share with you with each of you post the session around what are the criteria that you need to meet to either participate in actively the job or work readiness process, and what are the criteria for the digital transformation, digital leadership process. And it's really, I think all of you would well know what works in impact sourcing, what are some of the challenges that we need to overcome. And those guidelines are really around the principles applied and with good intent to prepare and retain these young talent, and with content coverage that we will provide guidelines for behaviors for work, technology, all of the ones that you commonly do apply. And we've developed those programs, and your options are either to use developed programs on FSP, a blend between your own programs and FSP, or straightforwardly your own programs or programs of your training providers that you have a long partnership with, all of which can be loaded and provided and delivered in a blended way off the platform. The key requirements: it does not have to be an accredited program. It has to be a business relevant program. If it is accredited, then the platform is enabled to your team to load your program. If it is business led, then similar, there's a portfolio of evidence that those competencies have been reached that would be required. And then I think if I could just share the platform for, I've got 2 minutes left, Teswell. So if you would allow me to share the platform just to show quickly. Right. Excuse my desktop. Here we go. And let's just go into the platform. This is our UAT environment. Did you see my screen?
Judy, not yet.
No, Judy.
Okay. Tell me when you are able to. Can you see it?
Not
Now,
yet.
Judy.
Okay, let me try share again. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I think it's starting to share. There we go. We can see it.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. So what we've created with the help of the team is our most recent, this is what you would see when you do an explore. Anybody who enters the channel will, enters the platform will see all of these options. Welcome to our future skills world, all of the user guides necessary. And then here you'll see the very important topics that many of you would currently have in your job readiness programs. Our most recent being the alignment of our job readiness with the digital work readiness programs for the ICT Digital Skills Framework 1. We have the topics around self-leadership, behaviors for work, digital competence, English acceleration, financial literacy, your contact center job readiness, understanding our sector, communication. These are all really relevant topics, your in-demand roles, your performance metrics, if you're wanting to align with things like your matrix that you're going to be using for your agents starting out. And then I would just want to take the opportunity quickly just to do a quick link into our digital work readiness. And we've developed a set of pathways for digital work readiness, which is an enhancement on the straightforward work readiness, although still includes many of the critical topics, like the softer, more professional skills in terms of professionalism, behaviors for work, showing up, attitude, communication skills, etc. Those all also form part of the process. So here we go, for example, would be what is digital work readiness? Why is it important? Let's just opt in here quickly, and I'll do a very quick run through for you, and to give you an idea of what it looks like. So we would introduce you to the importance of it. Why do we even look at aligning with digital frameworks for you as a young person entering the world of work? What is our South African digital frameworks, and what are the things that you will learn through this process? And these are all relevant job work readiness requirements for us in GBS. And it goes through the other frameworks that support us. And it starts with the very basics of handling data, going right through to, I'm just going to do a quick fling through here, guys, how to prepare themselves for the learning, What is data handling? And this is really the foundation of our young people coming into the world of work, being able to operate in our environment with data, with devices, and to be able to be a critical part, managing data, etc., of our digital world of work, communication and collaboration, and the importance of that as a skill, but also the importance of that within the digital work readiness. So you'll see, we'll teach them how to interact with digital technologies, sharing through digital tech. So all of the requirements, like how to interact with Teams, how to interact with Zoom, how to manage your digital identity, how to be safe, cybersecurity, etc. That's just a quick overview for you on that one. And then we do leverage quite a lot on SA Youth content, and you'll see all your usual suspects around English, and that's language, culture, dealing with international clients, socialization, getting ready for work, what behaviors, how to show up, again, digital literacy in terms of your MS Office, Google Suites, etc. So there's a very broad range of content, but we also really do like to co-create with you, and we can use any of this content as standalone, integrated with, or enhanced by yours. I think that's all for me for now, Andy, unless there are any questions.
That's great, Judy. So if there are questions around the platform or content in general, please pop them into chat or keep them until the final session. But I think all good. Yeah, I think we can just check in, Renee. Any questions in chat?
No questions as yet, Andy.
Okay, I'd suggest let's move on. So over to you, Sam.
Thank you, Andy, and good morning, everybody, and welcome to the session. I'm just going to cover the supporting teams and the roles and responsibilities we have from a reporting perspective, monitoring and evaluation back to our funders. So as you would all know, that the Future Skills platform is brought to you by BPESA, so it is supported by the BPESA OPSCO team in their various roles. What you see on screen is the new OPSCO organogram that exists within the BPESA structure, where each of our role players have their set of responsibilities, where this role specifically will be monitored by Renee, who sits under our skills team, and supported by Yogan in the region for KZN, and then also with our support from our representatives in the other regions if you've got your organizations based there. We also have the full FSP team. Here's on the next slide. And we've got the full FSP team that's sit with Andy running the project, and we've got all of our role players that you'll hear speak in this presentation later, that manage both from a technical perspective, admin perspective, and a support perspective. So you have a full support team. If there's any issues or concerns that you have under any of those categories, there is a full team of people that will support you there. Thanks, Tez. Specifically on this project, and all the other projects that run within the Future Skills platform, we have a full administrative support structure that governs these projects. So all of them have got standard operating procedures that we've got for each of the various work streams, and as well as process tools, templates that will help us administer, collect information, document that information. The tools are all already provided in templates to make your job quite easy in reporting back to us. And all of that is available once we get into the contracting phase, and we provide reporting as well back to our funders. Thanks, Tez. From a financial perspective, as you would well know, if you've been involved in any of the other projects within BPESA from a skills perspective, our funds are managed quite diligently through our bank accounts. We've actually now escalated to 3 bank accounts and not 2, but they manage we separate our BAU expenses from our skills project expenses and our funders' income and expenditure. Those systems are managed quite strictly within our accounting systems, mainly being Xero and our FNB banking systems. We do all of our document collection and management through a system called Dext, and all of these three things talk to each other. Those systems and processes are well entrenched in BPESA. They work very well, and we are able to extract specific reporting that satisfies our funders' reporting requirements. And obviously, for this particular program, we are also managed and measured by the UNDP and GIZ and adhere to their processes and make sure that those two things synchronize and that they meet the requirements. Thanks, Tez. Andy, can I leave this slide to you, and then we'll come back to some of the role players in the team.
Yes, thank you, Sam. So just in terms of the funding itself and stipends, the GIZ have offered a grant of 4,500 Rand per learner. That's based on the old model, which is a weekly stipend equivalent of or stipend amount of 750 Rand over the 6-week period. So they will be paying that money to BPESA, and BPESA in turn will reimburse you for stipends that you pay out to learners to the maximum of that amount. Now, the process there, or the expectation, is that companies that participate as employers must themselves pay the stipend directly to the learners on whatever basis you agree with the learners, if it's weekly or monthly, in advance or at month end. So that's where when due is up to you. And then you would recover that amount from BPESA through 2 invoices, and that's subject to the criteria being met. So the first invoice would be for 60% of the 4,500 per person, and that's at the end of the first month of training. The evidence for that is the registration documents for that individual learner and evidence of attendance of training, which we could get from you for the classroom-based training and off the platform for the platform component of it. The balance of that grant, the 40% of the 4,500 per person, would be paid to you at the end of the 6 weeks. And that's subject to the evidence being verified by Renee, and that is that each individual's completed the knowledge assessment, which would be co-created and delivered online on the platform. So that's the platform evidence, the employment contract, and then your own internal competency assessment results, as you would have your own programs and your own methodologies for assessing that. So those are the criteria. So what that means is that companies just need to manage working capital up until the point that you are reimbursed by BPESA, and that reimbursement is against evidence. And then also just the same principle as is applied in other BPESA intermediated funded programs, and that is, if you're given a grant funding allocation for X number of learners and there's drop-off, then you would be expected to top up to meet that allocation requirement by the time that they exit, and that top up would be at your cost. You would simply be paid the full amount of the grant for the allocation that you contract with BPESA. So that's the stipends. That's applicable only to those who are going through the work readiness training and then transitioning into workplace learning and their job. For the use of the platform by those same learners and by the employees who you in the same company or other companies may register for the upskilling program, there's no charge for the use of the platform. So that's is covered in the grant fund to BPESA, and that meets the content and user and subscription fees and various fees that BPESA pays to Cornerstone On Demand and EdCast, and there's no money that changes hands between BPESA and yourselves with regards to that, but they will have full access to the BPESA Future Skills platform until the end of April 2024. So the sooner you're able to get them on board and active and using the platform, the better. So long as they stay within the company, they will continue to have that access. The licenses are transferable. So if somebody goes through this program, the work readiness program, and drops off, or somebody starts off on the workplace upskilling training and drops off, you can register another learner. We would deactivate the one who's dropped off from the platform and activate the new registered learner, staying within the allocation that you've contracted with BPESA. So to repeat, there's no charge to you for the use of the platform. That's covered directly by the grant funder to BPESA. And what you are offered is free use of that platform with unlimited access to its content until the end of April 24 for registered users within your allocation. Back to you, Sam.
Thanks for that, Andy. Over onto the governance of the project. So as you would know, BPESA already has its existing structures when it comes to their board, ExCo and OpsCo, and they apply just a further layer of governance to an oversight for this project. The Future Skills Platform project itself has got its own steering committee that takes place twice a month, and that committee is made up of the various different funders that provide match funding for the overall skills, Future Skills project, and that's made up of the UNDP GIZ, the Michael and Susan Dell Foundation, the Jobs Fund, and then BPESA, and Harambee being BPESA's funding partner. So we hold those project steering committee meetings regularly, and they are quite informative for all of our funders, keeping them up to date as to what's happening within the project, informing them of what we've achieved to date, what our deadlines are, and our new targets are, and how we're tracking against those. Thanks, Tiers. Onto the project team itself. So BPESA has got a special projects lead, and that is Neville Cousins, that oversees our special projects overall portfolio. The project manager and monitor, which will be Renee Groom, who you'll hear Renee speak after me on this project, and she's done this project quite successfully in the Eastern Cape, as been mentioned before. So she's there to help you with the day-to-day runnings of the project. If there's any issues, concerns, complaints, anything that you need help with, Renee is efficient and effective in this role, and she's done a really good job. And I have no doubt that she'll manage our KZN cohorts just as efficiently. Our regional representative in the area is Yogan Naidu, as you all know him very, very well in the region. And he's there from a relationship perspective and also to help participation and engagement for this program. Thanks, Tiers. On the contractual monitoring and evaluation side, I'll be there overseeing the project, making sure that all of our requirements are being met back to our funders, both from a financial perspective, so tracking of their funding, but also with regards to their reporting and making sure that we send them their reports on time. And that is required for us to receive the different tranches of funding and making sure that we're able to support the teams that are running these projects. Overall, the FSP support team, which I showed the organogram earlier on, that support team is there. They liaise with everyone else within the project, being the project manager, regional reps within BPESA. They help you to onboard, they help from a technical perspective, and they are also there to collect all of the data and reporting. And Body looks after that team. You'll also hear a little bit later. Next slide, Tiers. I think that is the end of my section, and we're going to go over to implementation. Thank you. Just want to check if there's any questions or comments in the chat. I don't see any. But Renee, over to you for implementation. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, everybody. I'm going to discuss the implementation of this project. Thank you, Teswell. Next slide. Stage 1. There's 8 stages to the implementation of this project. Stage 1 is the mobilization of the participants, and that is this briefing session that we are having. Here we've discussed the project goals, objectives, timelines, and approach, and criteria for participation. After this, we will then liaise with all the stakeholders and see who's actually interested, and you will then request a written agreement to participate in the program. Also, if you are going to participate in the work readiness program for the 230 unemployed youth, you will be requested to confirm if you have demand and the ability to absorb the new jobs. If you are going to participate in the digital upskilling, we're also going to request that you confirm that you have the ability to provide your staff with the access to the Future Skills platform. So that will be data, Wi-Fi, etc., as well as devices to support them with their self-directed learning for the 12-month period. Under contracting, this is vitally important. The contracts will need to be signed, and there will be there's two different contracts. If you participate in the work readiness program, there's an implementing agreement and a business partner agreement that you will need to sign and understand all the requirements. If you choose to participate only in the digital upskilling, then there's only a business partner agreement that you'll need to sign with BPESA for the FSP. Thank you, Teswell. Stage 3 and 4. The sourcing of and recruiting of the 230 unemployed youth. This is vitally important that you understand the way this process works. The 230 unemployed youth need to be sourced off the SA Youth platform. So you will be required to issue an opportunity card on the SA Youth platform, to which the youth will then apply, and you will source from that platform. This is a very strict part of our requirements. So if you also don't understand the way SA Youth works, I will also take you through the process and explain it, just so that we can get it 100% correct and comply. It will, part of this stage 3 also includes verifying learner contracts. So this is also important. You will be required to send us pro forma contracts before your training commences, so that we can actually verify that you are complying. In the work readiness training, this is a 6-week program that will need to be completed for these non-complex jobs. We will review all the evidence of the work readiness training and sign off on each learner as they progress to the workplace. Stage 5 to 7. So stage 5 is the theory training. So the training may be fully integrated with workplace training at the discretion of the training provider. BPESA will engage with each employer and training provider at the start of the theory training to verify that you meet the curriculum and training requirements as agreed to. Judy has elaborated on this in her section that she presented. In the workplace training will take place in the employer's work environment, and in some cases at a center of excellence or academy, who will also act as an employer. However, when the learners are complete with their training, they will then transition into the full-time employment after this by one of the participating companies. Stage 7 entails completion of the learner administration and placement into work opportunities. So during this period, we will review the learner competency assessments. Learner profiles will be updated on the SA Youth platform. I'll take you through this process, as I alluded to earlier, whereby these learners will then be marked as hired on the platform. And this phase can run in parallel to the transition to employment phase. Thank you, Teswell. And then the last stage is the outcome that we want to achieve, and that is the transition to employment. So the learners will then transition into fixed-term contracts with permanent employment once they have completed the work readiness training. However, there may be cases where the employers offer learners employment contracts as soon as they complete the work readiness training, but this will be up to the employer to decide, but will be strongly motivated by BPESA. And then ultimately, we will verify the placement of learners into suitable roles with the minimum salary to the minimum wage, above the minimum wage for the first 2 years of employment. And then you as the employer, it would be great if you can commit to increase that to 5,000 Rand or more in the next 2 years. So this slide talks to the workplace upskilling. With the workplace upskilling, the process is as follows. We will review all the applications from employers and vet them against BPESA FSP business partner requirements, after which companies will then have to take remediation action to address any gaps before they will be approved. This will be part of the evaluation, selection, and contracting phase. Contracting and commercial terms will be agreed to with the employers and BPESA, and the contracting documentation will be signed off. In addition to funding, this deals with the access to the platform, content, usage, and data security. Judy's also explained that earlier. Thereafter, we'll move on to the next phase, which is the setup and configuration and testing phase. Configuration requirements will be scoped and specified within product parameters. Configuration will then be done in the sandbox environment, and this will be followed by a first round of testing and Q&A. So the FSP team will also engage with you in discovery questions to find out what it is that you want, how you want to upskill, what the themes are around the groups that you want to upskill, etc. This will be followed by configuration on the production instance, and then there'll be a second round of testing and Q&A, and then there'll be sign-off from the FSP team, whereby your team will then be onboarded to participate in their digital upskilling programs. Onboarding. The business partners will onboard the learners according to user group requirements. So you as the operator have the liberty to decide which areas you want to upskill your incumbent staff in. You will then liaise with the FSP team about the requirements that you have. The content will then be curated according to your requirements. Your learners and then your company facilitators and coaches will be provided with early platform orientation and platform workshops. So we will hold your hands through this process until these are completed with support guides and tools. Your learners then will start engaging on the FSP platform, and the employers play a key role to encourage and incentivize staff to use the platform. It's self-directed, but we don't want learners just to be left on their own. It will be key for facilitators to actually check in, for team leaders to check in to see how they are participating, are they engaging in the platform, etc. The FSP team will not take responsibility, but will provide the employers with guidance and support. And this is where I will come in, because I will look at the reports on user activity, and then I will also prompt to say, people are participating, well done, or people need to be pushed along, etc. So we hope that, if you do the digital upskilling, which we trust you will, that you get full support from the program, because there's great material on the platform that your learners can greatly benefit from. So this is, I've spoken about the support that I will provide you with, and then this would be of great benefit to you. support and operations, the FSP team will also provide support with regards to queries, user support, whatever problems are experienced on the FSP platform. So there is a support team available to ensure that you get assisted and that you get maximum use of the platform. Account management. BPESA provides the business partners with analytics, and the analytics reports are there so that you can actually see how your users are engaging on the platform, what they are actually participating in, which groups are running ahead and completing, which groups are lagging behind. And there will also be quarterly reviews with partners to ensure that you are achieving your goals. Thank you. Next. Thank you, Andy. I think this next slide is for you to talk to.
Thanks, Renee. I'm going to actually just share my screen with the Excel view because this is small. You will receive a copy of this pack, and we will also just circulate a worksheet with the plan and just a better font size and more visible. But just give me a moment to share my screen, and I'll talk through. It should be up shortly. All right, should be visible. Can you see it?
Yes, we can, Andy.
Yes, Andy.
Right, great. So we are here at the moment. We're in stage 1 with the mobilizing, or stage 2, sorry, mobilizing the participants. Stage 1 is complete. And the timelines that we're working on is post today, just to get your response and understand from you and also colleagues of yours in the region who couldn't make today's session, to what the level of interest is to participate and what sort of demand you would want to apply for in terms of an allocation. So that's going to take us through to the end of the month. And once that's been agreed, then concluding those partner agreements and SLAs will take place leading through to the middle of May. So that's the allocation of learners and budget and contracting that will see us through from today and conclude in the middle of May. That would then open up the doors for implementation to start with both the work readiness training and the workplace skilling in parallel. That would be up to you. And as per the note I put in chat, that a company participating in the work readiness training for an allocation of the 230 learners can also participate in the workplace upskilling for employees. So there isn't a limitation that you can participate in one or the other. You can participate in both. So while these are long solid lines, is because the timelines once you've been onboarded. So the onboarding begins once the contracting process ends, and Judy and Vardy and the team would be engaging with each partner company to take your relevant role players through the process and make sure that all the requirements in terms of which are the learners, et cetera, at least where they're available for each of your cohorts, those are all provided. And we've estimated approximately 2 weeks for the first cohorts to be onboarded. And then they would come onto the platform. So this is bringing the partners on board. The next step is where I'm highlighting it, is bringing the learners on board in multiple cohorts. So for work readiness, that's just getting them registered. And from the moment the first group are on the platform, training could be delivered. And that training, you'll see, runs at your pace through to, it should actually end by no later than the second last week of December, so that there's time for that last cohort to transition into the workplace. That's the next activity. So the first transition into the workplace can only take place after the first cohort have completed their 6 weeks of integrated training. So that set of tasks begins in August. So that's the timeline that we're looking for people to be starting to transition into the workplace, assuming that they started training in June and completed it early in August. So final exit from training into the workplace before the last week of December, so we can meet the funders' criteria of the 31st of December. And then for the workplace upskilling, it's not dissimilar, except that there's this piece over here, which once partners have been onboarded, business partners have been onboarded, there's time for the team just to create group pages and section structures for each of the business partners, within which your content for that learning can be set up. Also, just to make sure that your teams can be equipped from a content creation point of view, from a coaching and mentoring point of view, to support the learners and give you time to identify who you want to register to benefit from the workplace upskilling, and then they can start consuming that digital content with monitoring and support. Those are the two lines that begin here in July. So we've envisaged that the earliest group or cohort of workplace upskilling people could start at the beginning of July, and they would then have the benefit of the platform, as would the others, through to the end of April 2024. But if we can bring any of these time periods forward, we will. It will all depend on how ready you are. So if you have cohorts you are already taking on board earlier than this, and you can conclude with BPESA the allocation of learners and the contracting, then these timelines will shift forward. These were just the provisional timelines that we've provided to the GIZ. So this onboarding is going to be driven by your own plan. You can take young people, you may have an allocation, for example, let's just say it's 50 people, and you might want to train them in 2 consecutive cohorts of 25. That would be up to you. If you wanted to take all of them on board in one go as a large organization, you could do that. So the structuring of those cohorts and training programs is led by yourselves. And we would just ask that you liaise with Renee. So in turn, she can share that information in your plan, your demand plan, with Vardy and the platform team, so they know when to expect and what to ask for from you for each cohort of learners that come on to either the work readiness training or the workplace upskilling. So I'm going to leave this on the screen and just ask anyone to come in with any questions or comments pertaining to either of the programs and to the implementation approach that Renee has just shared with you. And then we can move on to the immediate next steps. Let's see if there are any questions on this. I can't see in the chat or if there are any hands up.
No questions, Andy. No hands up.
All right, I'm going to stop sharing for now and then hand back to you just to highlight the next steps. And then if you pass on to Jürgen for a wrap-up, Q&A, comments, and we can close off. Yes, well, if you wouldn't mind just resharing. Thank you. And if you can move on to the next steps. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. So the next steps after this webinar will be as follows. If you are interested in either the digital upskilling or the work readiness training, you will express your interest to me, and there will be a follow-up session on the 14th of April 2023, which is next week, Friday. We will then discuss timeframes, contracting, onboarding, and launch. We will also then discuss the agreements which form part of the contracting, the MOA and the SLAs, as I've spoken to. Neville and I will take you through that discussion. I've also spoken about the recruitment process via the sayouth.mobi platform. So there'll be a training session on that just to highlight what needs to happen during that process. And then the work readiness training, we will try and discover how you want to train. Do you have your own work readiness program? Will you use the content on FSP, or will you use a hybrid of your own as well as the content on FSP? So Vadi and Judy will assist in that session. We will do those discovery questions and assist you in that process. With the digital upskilling, we will also run a similar session where we will ask you, what are your requirements in order to upskill your staff? Where are the gaps in your organization? And then we'll try and curate content bespoke for your organization, as well as show you what content is already available and what others have used within the industry relevant to your organization. The deliverables will be, you will need to recruit via SA Youth platform. Candidate requirements, you'll need to meet that. The training curriculum, we will evaluate that as well. And then you will need to provide devices for the people to participate in the work readiness program, as well as the digital upskilling. You'll have to also ensure that the candidates participate in a pre and post assessment. You will need to provide employment contracts, and finally proof of payments of the stipends before we pay the stipends back to you. Also the evidence, I will take you through a session whereby you will have access to a central folder on SharePoint. The evidence you will have to upload, and then there's also certain milestones that need to be met that we'll go through. And then finally, once the project closes off end of December, we will do a closeout report on the digital upskilling as well as the work readiness program. Any questions?
Hi, Renee. I just want, and thank you for that. Thank you to everybody on the team, and thank you to our attendees as well. Renee, what were the lessons learned that you can share in particular with our KZN colleagues that in terms of the pilot being initiated in the Eastern Cape? And what are the critical things that our guys need to look out for or be cognizant of?
Jürgen, specifically to work readiness, you have to have demand. You must be able to source off the SA Youth platform and recruit correctly. Also, having access to SharePoint is vital. Having dedicated trainers to take your people through the training. Also communicating with the FSP team and myself, also very important. We also provide regular check-in sessions, so you'll have lots of support. So I must say, working with the organizations in the Eastern Cape, they gained much. And we were successful in taking 165 unemployed youth through the work readiness program and successfully placing them in jobs. With the digital upskilling, it is important for the organizations to know what skills the organizations need, where they want to upskill, to know who they want to upskill. And already, when we have these sessions, be forward thinking in that way, so that when we engage with them, we can connect and lead them on the right path. Also, Jürgen, a key learning point was people must step forward and engage with us and not be afraid to step into this, because this is a wonderful and a great opportunity, because 959 youth incumbent staff have been upskilled and are still participating in the digital upskilling in the Eastern Cape. So if we could do it there, there's no reason why we can't do it in KZN. I know the chat's been very quiet, but I am going to encourage people, maybe, people don't like to speak on a forum. My email address will be shared. Jürgen can share it with you. And I'm happy to host one-on-one sessions, just to answer all questions, to go through the program again, to make everyone understand what this project is about. But key learnings are people need to reach out and access this wonderful opportunity, because the Future Skills platform and the content is absolutely brilliant. It's a brilliant platform to work on, and the content is just amazing. There's 600 learning pathways. So, from artificial intelligence right down to basic professional skills. I mean, it's all entirely available and accessible. So I'm going to encourage everyone on this call to really reach out and don't sell yourself short, because this can really do amazing things for your people and for your organization.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. I think as well, from a leadership perspective, in terms of the staff that are there already within the organization and the upskilling initiatives you have with them. Colleagues, one of the biggest challenges we have in the sector is transforming the sector and enabling people of color to rise up to the ranks in terms of their career trajectory. So this is also important to that objective, and it can enable you as an organization to meet those targets that you might have internally. I'd also encourage, and you would be receiving Renee's email from me and her details, to connect with Renee immediately in terms of getting a sense of where of what you believe you can qualify for, how you want to participate in the program, despite the fact that the expression of interest is on the 14th, Renee. That's correct, right?
Correct, Jürgen, yes.
Yeah, but please, if there's any questions you have, any correspondence you need to engage with, so we can get a feel of just how much traction we can get in the next week and a half, that will really, really help us. Again, I'm going to Renee's earlier point, maybe people are a bit sort of reluctant to speak on an open forum, but any questions in the chat group, we'll gladly entertain in the next minute if you have anything, so we can get a sense of where you are or how you think you can engage with us. I'm just going to give it a few seconds while I'm talking. In addition, please note that I am effectively the KZN representative. I will facilitate and be here on the ground to support you with any challenges. While Renee, Andy, Judy, Vardi, Neville, Sam, Natasha, Teswell will be engaging on the technical responses and how the project is actually rolled out and implemented. I can help to facilitate, when there's challenges, troubleshoot issues, be your point of contact in terms of first responder. So don't forget that. As much as this project is run by this team, as a regional representative, I am responsible for your well-being and your upkeep. So just reach out to me. I see there's no questions in the chat, but ladies and gentlemen that have attended, please there's Renee's email address there. Please connect with her, copy me in, so I can help you to facilitate that correspondence as well. Okay, so I think we're done from that perspective. I'm not seeing any questions. Renee, thank you for your time. Andy, do you want to close before we say goodbye to everybody?
Jürgen, thanks. Nothing really to add. I think Renee and you have said it all. So just encourage everybody to engage with Renee. I see Lynn is also on the call and was involved with Renee in the Eastern Cape, and can also share, some of the feedback of how it worked and what the opportunity is and the benefits are. But you've said it all. I can only support it and encourage everyone to make the most of another opportunity to really just take the sector forward. So thanks for the platform, Jürgen. We look forward to supporting KZN. Continue to rise to new heights as always.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Andy. Judy, I see you on camera. Any comments before we close? Okay, you're good. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day, and we'll catch up soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Cheerio.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.